get those updates. All right, final third segment here that I want to talk about. We have Les Bowen coming up here at about 9:20, so we got about 18 minutes from Les Bowen. We'll talk to him. Looking forward to talking to Les. He wrote an article about the Fangio thing on PHLY, so good stuff from Les Bowen. We'll hear what he has to say about everything this offseason, the Mannion hire, Vic Fangio, and all the like. John, Philly Voice, another one of our buddies, Jimmy Kempski, he did an award here thing, and he had a hot seat award for 2025. Both Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts landed on his hot seat award. All right. I'll read to you kind of what he wrote because I thought it was interesting. What Jimmy Kempski wrote. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. He wrote this. Hot seat award, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Sirianni was never in danger of losing his job one season removed from a Super Bowl win and having signed a new contract during the offseason. But if the team underperforms anywhere remotely close to the way it did in 2025, all bets are off. There's little question that Jeffrey Lurie can recognize how talented the team is to have underperformed the way it did, and he has nearly fired Sirianni in the past. Meanwhile, Hurts is going to be under heavy scrutiny in 26 like he has at other times in his career. As usual, he'll have another new OC to work with. In the past, Hurts has responded when he's been under fire. He has not really had 2 consecutive down seasons, at least relative to expectations. But if he doesn't have a bounce-back season, would it really be that surprising if the team considered other options? That's from Philly Voice's Jimmy Kempski on the hot seat for Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. John, how do you view that coming into this season, the hot seat for 2 of the biggest names on the team?
Yeah, well, Nick is clearly on the hot seat. I mean, there's no plausible deniability anymore. There's no layered protection anymore. That's sort of how the industry works. So you have the scapegoat, and then if it doesn't work and you don't recover, you're gone. That's generally what it is. And, the same thing happened in 2023, and the Eagles recovered. But now, it's now pretty well known. Jeffrey was thinking, now everybody should have known. It took so long. Everybody knew Jeffrey was thinking about firing him after 2023. And then at 2-2, I think certainly it crossed his mind, but I don't know if that was quite as perilous as maybe some have made it out to be. But nonetheless, it's certainly like one thing I would say in Hard Knocks, like they have conversations about everything. If everybody heard some of the negative conversations, they'd be astonished and pissed off. So they talk about everything. It's been broached and what it might look like. And that's with players as well. That's with everybody. But clearly the Eagles don't have a lot of patience and have a lot of expectations. And that is a bad recipe for a coach. Reach the expectations or you're going to deal with the impatience. So yes, he is on the hot seat. No question. And so is Jalen, but it's a little bit more, only a little bit lesser because of the financial impact. And it's way more difficult. And I mean, getting to the point of talent over coaching, as they always, way more difficult to find competent quarterback play than to find the next head coach. Way more difficult. So from that standard alone, if you're going to judge the 2 of them, and they're both on the hot seat, but if you're going to judge the 2 of them, Nick's in the much hotter seat than Jalen Hurts.
And ultimately, if you think this became the Knicks last year, would that increase the seat for Jalen? Do you think they would move on from both? Because ideally, you would think if a new coach came in, I don't think he's going to give them 1 year with the quarterback, will they? I mean,
they'll move on Yeah, pretty quickly if they have
Okay.
to. I mean, they've already proven that as well. They will move on.
Yeah,
Now,
no, believe me, I get
but
it.
I do think people forget they tried to run it back one more year with Carson Wentz. They tried. That was the original plan. But they're not afraid, even though it is difficult to replace a quarterback. They will do it. I mean, they've shown that as well. But it is more difficult. That's the only. It's more difficult to find another quarterback than it is to find another coach. Like you hire your coach. I mean, you can find a coach. And I got a lot of respect for Nick, and more than most people. I think he's a good coach. A lot of people don't. Um, but I mean, that's not an insult to him. You can find a coach. I can't guarantee you're going to find a quarterback. That is really difficult waters. As you're seeing, GM in Minnesota just lost his job because they can't. They made so many mistakes at the quarterback position. Um, so just from the nature of how difficult it is to find a quarterback, you have to be really cautious about moving on from a guy. Well, by the way, it's crazy to talk about because he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Who, Jalen?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's unique. I use that term all the time, and people don't like it, and people don't. They want to change, and they want to shift, and they want something different. I mean, all the people they want, coaches, players, haven't been as successful as the coaches and players here. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Unless you want to go to Kansas City. And they're having a downtick in the cycle as well. But all these names and all these coaches you talk about and all these coaches you want and all these players, and for the Jalen haters, you have both camps, the extremes. I don't think there's any logic to the discussion. But for the Jalen haters, it's like all these people you talk about haven't been nearly as successful. Now he does it in a different fashion, a unique fashion. So what? You don't have to do it. There's not anything in life. There's more than one way to do it. But the way the Eagles have done it is not aesthetic to a lot of people. And that creates complications, as you've seen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if only it's the aesthetic part of it. I mean, I think at time, you lead the league in 3 and outs. I don't give a shit what it looks like. I mean, that's just not a good metric. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's all only aesthetics, but I do think that.
Well, I'm talking about the particular player. I'm not talking about the offense. I'm talking about, there's a million reasons why they led the league in 3 and outs, but number one would be the negative running plays of the numerous reasons. Because the minute you're behind the sticks, your percentages go down.
John, before the Eagles won the Super Bowl the way they did last year running the football, one of the things that you were on in the regular season, and by the way, I don't bring this up to try and make it look like an I gotcha. I agreed with you 100%. The modern NFL, the Eagles kind of defied the modern NFL when they won that way. That's not a typical way to win in the NFL. Run the ball the way that they did, beat teams in the way that they did, and then ultimately go on to win the Super Bowl. Now that is gone, and that, or at least that's in the rearview mirror, you talked about the margin for error being so small. Is there a chance that it's gone forever?
Well, the margin of error is never going to be anything bigger than small.
Yeah, but they had to get that type of success.
The small margin of error, the way they play, if they continue to play the way they play and play it efficiently, will remain small. So, to me, it's not a gotcha. It's not a contradiction at all. It remains small.
Well, remember,
It will always be small, but
they needed pretty extreme success to win that way.
well, exactly. So, and I've had discussions with people in that building about, and I've told this story before about all the offseason lists and, how could you put Jalen Hurts behind insert name? And I said, not a lot of people in this league, again, and I'm talking about the Sando list, the Fowler list that are talking to coaches and executives, not the bullshit joesfootball.com list. Those are irrelevant, but the guys talking to executives and coaches, not wanting, not placing, they're thinking about their teams. They're thinking about it from their framework. They're thinking about how they want to play football. And they're like, no, I want this guy. I'm going to put this guy ahead of this guy because for them, it makes more sense. To me, it's very obvious. Not a lot of people, and I say it all the time with coaching, and we just said, not a lot of people want to play the way the Eagles play. Because one, you got to build a certain way. They're not built that way. And if you decide to build that way, that's a multi-year process. Two, you got to find the players that can do it. Not easy to do. So everybody wants to.
Because the margin is so small, I think the question still remains, will they be able to do it again? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, the aspect of hopefully they learned it was too small. Hopefully they learned from that. They're too risk averse. They because of the success that they had, they went into the season pretty much like, well, if we don't turn the football over, we're going to win.
Yeah, remember the graphic that came out in the middle of the year that Sirianni showed in the team meeting?
And the bottom line is, if you don't turn the football over, you are going to be in almost every game. Almost every game. That's where I differ from the Eagles thing. They think they're going to win. I think you're a play away from losing. Whereas, if the ball doesn't bounce your way, if Jordan Davis doesn't block the field goal.
Yeah, right.
That's how I think of it. And that's how I thought about it dating back to the divisional round. We were this close to spending an entire offseason talking about how bad that passing game was. This close. But they won the game. They beat the Rams because of Jalen Carter just taking over the game in a big spot. And that's always how I've thought about the game, and that's where I think they're off base. The margin of error was astonishingly small when they won, but they won. And that clouds visions.
Which is going to be harder to do again. That's right. I mean, doing it once is hard enough.
Hopefully they learn from it. And that's, part of what Sean Mannion will be here to do
So you don't think that's as much about the style of offense? You think it's more about the risk-averse approach?
Well, I think the style of offense is the style of offense because of the risk-averse approach.
Yeah, right. That kid. Well, I mean, you can be less risk-averse, but still have Jalen Hurts, who, as you point out.
Well, I still think you build around the uniqueness of the quarterback, but you don't have to be that risk-averse.
Right.
And that's what Sean Mannion, to me, is here to do. And we'll see if he can do it. But, yeah, I've always thought that way, even after they won. I rarely changed my thing, let's be honest. But I think I evolve. Yeah, that's a big word. Because I'm an old guy that talks about analytics a lot and believes in that. Fourth downs, I believe in aggressiveness. I didn't always think that way. But when it comes to margin of error, it was always small. When they won the Super Bowl, it was always small. And when they disappointed this year, it was because, everything didn't go their way.
Yeah. It's good. John, you're hitting the stuff that I thought. I mean, Earl, I'm looking at my list I wrote down earlier when the Eagles had just been eliminated first week of the offseason. I wrote down a bunch of questions here for the offseason. But my first two, and I mentioned this on the show, these are my biggest questions of the offseason, are two things you just alluded to. One is, will Jalen Hurts be a dual threat or a triple threat as you worded it again? Or is he, more out of that mode? Is that behind him? And two, does the risk-averse offensive philosophy change? That's the two things I wrote down, 1 and 2, and I think they are the two biggest questions on the Eagles this year. John, we got Les Bowen coming up here. Let's get the 2 super chats. Dirty D, what's up, Dirty D? I agree with John. Usually if you have those numbers, it usually means your defense is bad.
Which numbers?
I'm not exact. He sent us at 8:48, so we were talking about, what do we have?
Oh, the 49, probably 100 passing yards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you you're probably behind a lot. You have to throw a lot to get back in the game. Yeah, that's the nature of it. That's why I always say people should be careful what they wish for. When you see these big numbers, I get it. People look at the end of the season and go, "Wow, this guy threw for 4,400 yards." And don't get me wrong, you have to have a lot of talent to throw for 4,900 yards in this league. But you also have to be in some bad situations. And it's just part of it. You don't have 4,900 yard passers on, 15-1 teams. Well, they play 17 games now, 16-1 teams. You're generally, if you're dominant, you're winning games usually by comfortable margins, and you're running the football a lot in the second half just to burn clock. So it limits your numbers, but people like numbers, man. It's tough narrative to combat.
It's true. Here's a second super chat here. Jason 18, what's up, brother? Thank you for the super chat. Dirty D as well. Appreciate both of you guys. Does it make it easier to put Sirianni in the hot seat because we don't know what his extension was? ? Seems like it was all on purpose. It's easier to move. I like that. I like that take there by Jason 18. Or that question, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about, obviously coaches don't get paid as much as players, so it's easier to move on. So I guess I don't understand that the hot seat, it's easier to replace a coach than a player. I mean, quarterback, I shouldn't say player. It's way easier to replace a coach than a quarterback.
It did seem like they were trying to keep it like, now they always do, but there is, I guess, some instances of coaches where what they get.
Yeah, I mean, it came out what Flores got. Sometimes it comes out, sometimes he does. He's very highly paid. Don't worry about that. He's very highly paid. Very highly paid. Near the top of the market. So that's, but again, compared to a quarterback, that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, right.
Veteran quarterback, obviously, I'm talking about. So yeah, money's part of it as well. Guys Jeffrey Lurie is taking dead money hit. He might take a dead money hit of $40 million for AJ Brown. He will take dead money. He'll take a $15 million dead money hit for a coach.
If he doesn't want the cash. Yeah, that's not going to stop him, folks. Anybody that knows Jeffrey Lurie, that will not stop Jeffrey Lurie. All right, good stuff, Jason. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Appreciate Dirty D super chat as well. We're going to talk to Les Bowen in a little bit. Hopefully, Les got my email. Let me text him. I think he should be all good. So just make sure.
Oh, he's having camera trouble. He said bear with him.
We did get the link though. All right, let's see. We'll talk to Les in a little bit here on the show. Going to be interesting to see. John, 3 good segments so far. We will get to Les Bowen when he joins us. Just a quick question here, John. With the draft starting to loom, we're going to start to dive more into the draft on a daily basis. Maybe we'll make a segment that we do a daily update, maybe a daily position look or something like that. I will think of some things to do daily for the NFL draft as we lead up to it. But what is your early feeling on round 1, John? I know it's kind of how the board falls, but it does feel like it's offensive tackle time, doesn't it, J-Mac?
Yeah, but I've thought that way they've been looking for a Lane Johnson heir apparent this will be the 3rd year. So they've been thought process has been there for a while, even to the point of the year they drafted Quignon at 22, I believe. The kid Pittsburgh drafted is if he was there, they would have picked him. Troy Fautano. Obviously, it worked out for the Eagles, but the point is they've been trying to look at potential heir apparents, and they also, they've been greedy. They want a guy who can play inside, then kick out when Lane eventually retires, and that they thought Fautano could do that. And that's why you see a lot of Caden Proctor stuff early, try to replicate that big size they've had in the past, which again, but that's old. Like, are they changing the run game? Because if you want to go outside zone, you want to bring in a 6'7", 370-pound guy to
no.
Like everything changes, but I don't think the Eagles are going to do that. I mean, I think Stout's going to be back. There's some talk he won't be the run game coordinator. Like, this could be a shit show, man. We talked about our buddy Jimmy Kempski. He does that top 10 reasons for every team in the NFC East could be a dumpster fire. He does it every summer. Everybody enjoys it. Does a good job with it. This could be a dumpster fire next year. This really could. If AJ leaves, if Lane retires, this could be a fucking dumpster fire.
If AJ leaves, Goddard leaves, Lane, oh man, that would not be good, John. With a 33-year-old OC, we will find out what happens.